My name's david-stringham, and I'm a mixed media artist here in Casper.
And you've become something of a fixture at art walks around town, notably the first Thursday art walk and more so at the second Saturday art walk. And the pieces you have on display there and around your apartment here have a lot to do with watch parts. Would you care to talk about the significance they have?
I get asked pretty regularly what kind of art I do, and you introduce yourself as an artist, and what kind of artist are you? Well, I'm a time artist. It's a mixed media focused on time, whether it be representation with the parts, whether it's actually I'm going down an endeavor right now in collaboration with a photographer and used camera parts for stopping time and then incorporating the watch parts in it. So I'm a mixed media artist focusing on time.
And what particularly drew you to time as a method of expression, I suppose?
As you get older, time is more relevant. I always tell people that time is the most abundant and rarest of all commodities, and my goal is to get as much art out before time runs out.
And how did you initially get involved in working with timepieces?
Like I was saying earlier, I was a glass artist. It was hard for me to haul around the equipment to do work on the torch, and I ended up picking up a brush and some paint and went into acrylic. And I happened to have some watch parts laying around. And if you notice, I'm not wearing a watch. It's because if I need parts, I'll take it apart to get it. But it started incorporating into the work, and it's just really exploded in the last couple of years.
And looking around your makeshift studio here, I believe I've seen some Rolex logos on faces, things like that. And watches in particular aren't generally considered to be very affordable. So is there kind of an expense issue when it comes to making these pieces, or are you able to find, for lack of a better term, junk watches pretty easily?
When I do an event, there's a sign that hangs in my booth that I buy broken watches, and I put it that way is because, broken or not, I take them apart. And yes, there are Rolex parts that go into my higher end pieces, to use a name, but some of the parts, particularly when I'm doing a fish or something like that, the body and the tail section of that fish are Elgin pieces that have not been made since the 60s, so they're every bit as old as I am.
Mm-hmm. And what's the process that goes into selecting which watch parts get put into which piece?
That is entirely not up to me. That's up to the watch parts. I deliberately use used watch parts because that is where the story is. I can buy brand new parts on the secondary market all day long. I like to believe that gear, the gears and parts that are in this watch right here have been placed, or at least this flower right here, have been places I want to go, have been, or never will see. But that's where the story is in the watch parts. It was there when the baby was born, the plane was missed, the train was caught. That's the secret of the parts. And I work primarily in silence. And I know it's kind of odd to say, but they do talk to you. They'll tell you their story, and then they get named because I don't give them a name from the beginning. Their title is after the fact.
And what stories have you picked up from these watch pieces?
I got a piece that a collector bought called Time Struggle, and I don't know if it's a story. It's more of a feeling that the piece invokes for the buyer, for the admirer of the art, and obviously for the creator. And it can get rather emotional when they start coming together.
Mm-hmm. Are there any particular markings or other pieces, I guess remnants of sentimentality, if I wanted to be particularly verbose, that you've found on some of these watch pieces?
I primarily use parts about from the 1900 forward. That includes the Warriors, that includes all the way to present with the court stuff. But I've taken apart pocket watches. I've found watches from overseas and in this country more than once with Jewish stars scratched inside of them. I've found notes inside of them. Of course, your I love yous inside of them, inscribed inside the watch versus professionally on the outside. But I don't find a lot of them, but what I find is pretty impressive, and it speaks volumes when you do find something like that tucked deep inside of a watch.
You mentioned that you stepped into working with time after working with glass as a medium. How did you come around to doing art like this in the first place?
I've always done art. I was having a conversation with a lady the other day, and I remember back when I was in elementary school, and back then they had a contest, and they had the marker pins, and they had the felt, and you would draw, and I got a trout in the river and all that, and I still got that, believe it or not, and the ribbon I won for it. So I've been doing art of some sort pretty much all my life. Not any professionally trained. It's just it just allows me to get it out, and I'm one of those artists that if I don't do it, it shows outward, externally. My wife will literally tell me, "Go to the studio. You need to get it out."
And you mentioned earlier how important time becomes to you as you age, and how it's simultaneously the most abundant and the rarest resource that we have as humans. Is there a particular experience or a handful of experiences you've had that you would say have shaped your perspective on the importance and preciousness of time?
I spent 12 years in the military, particularly aboard an aircraft carriers. I did the catapults and arresting gear on aircraft carriers. It's I think Lloyd's of London classified as one of the most dangerous work environments, if not the most, on the planet. And it's an adrenaline rush, and it seems to be. I've gotten to that point where that seems to be something that is possibly a memory in a movie, because I've gone that far from it. But it got me to the point that I could respect the life and danger of what we were doing, and time just gets more and more valuable. I have a load of friends that are no longer with us, and as you get to be my age, you'll experience that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're going to join them at some point, but it's hard to watch them go as well. Obviously, when I'm working on a piece, I'm talking to them. They're always asking about the work. Some of them have bought some of my work. Some of them have been given some of my work, and a lot of them have donated watch parts, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. And as it pertains to really just those relationships and the friendships that form, are there do any of them ever, I suppose, find their way into your work in a certain way? Do you ever find that a piece reminds you of someone from the past?
I was given a bag of watches the other day. A gentleman, my brother, Stan Back, we used to ride together in Rock Springs. I don't have a real brother, but he's as close as I've ever had to a brother, and he passed away 3 years ago, and his daughters gave me a bag of parts and asked for me to build them each memorial piece. So the past does catch up with you there, and I'd be more than glad to build it for them the way I do my commission pieces. I treat it like I do my tattoos. There's the thought, there's the canvas, go to work. So they got the thought, I got the parts. I'll add my parts to it and their parts, and then the canvas dictates what it's going to be. I don't know yet. This is real recent. It's just come about here in the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. And what is your process for a piece like that any different from, say, the Rhino that you're working on back there?
No, I had no idea I was going to be doing that Rhino. I just don't have the space to do the bigger pieces I do. I happened to be there. The parts were here. The base was there, so I just started working on it. Mm-hmm. Outside of the Starry Night piece, and actually the Starry Night piece come from, I was living in Tennessee for a couple of years, and they had a show, and that's what was the theme of the show. And the build time of mine takes so long, there was no way I was going to make the event, but I knew at that point it's something I wanted to do. So I don't always reach out and say, yep, that's what this painting's going to look like. It's going to be Abraham Lincoln. No.
Mm-hmm. And to bring it back, you mentioned earlier that you're now the vice president of Art on the Go. You're quite active participants in these Second Saturday art walks. What has that kind of access what is that kind of access and I suppose community meant to your work that you find here in Casper?
This is my view of when it comes to being an artist and getting involved. I think you have to have a community to build. I also believe that I don't believe in competition between artists. I believe in working together to build. I'll lift you up, you lift me up, and we'll pull each other up. You know, if we're working together on something, collaborating on something, you want to get involved, let's go. Let's all do it. Let's work together and enjoy it. I think the arts, for the creators, have a lot to offer the community. I'd love to be able to play the violin. I can't play the violin, but I can sure appreciate it. You know, that's and that's an art in itself. But I like to see the artists working together. Anytime you get involved with a group, whether it be Art on the Go, 321, or any others around, whether it be here, Lander, Cody, Cheyenne, Riverton, I'm always striving for the arts to be part of the community, as versus someone just standing back and going, "This is my art." No, it's a group effort.
And you talked about lifting one another up as artists. In what way have artists in Casper's community helped lift you up?
Oh, they've just welcomed me with open arms. I tell you what, anytime I get an event, I've never seen anybody upset at one of these events. Everybody's just happy and they're doing art, and they just have. No one said no. Don't bring your things here, or looked at me like I got three heads because it's a little different. I mean, it's one of the most common things. What I do is different. I know it. I hear it all the time. I've never seen it like this. Well, apparently it's not different enough not to be accepted. But every part of the community, whether it be the Copper Cup or Scarlo's or any other place I've gone in 321, everybody's just been more than welcoming to say, hey, come on in, see what we got, and let's see what you got.
Are there any experiences you've had with other artists in Casper or just around Casper in general that have shaped your process or your pieces?
I was born and raised in Casper, so I got partially Casper and Cody. So I got the cowboy ethics here. I think my pieces are 12 years in the Navy. I do a lot of ocean scenes and stuff like that, turtles and so forth. The community's starting to bend me a little bit. I don't always plan my work, but I do have buffaloes in the back of my head, a buffalo in the back of my head, coyotes. You know, that is coming in the to match the community a little better. But first and foremost, I want to create the art. Whether the subject matter be the same process for a humpback whale as it would be for a buffalo. It's the same exact process.
And you mentioned how the seas kind of influenced some of the works you're creating between the turtles and the fish, and your time in the Navy. How long did you spend out there?
I spent 12 years in the Navy. I started in the Army Guard in Cody, and then went active when I was still in high school. I went active, and then went overseas in the Navy. And just to give you an example, my first trip was the Iranian hostage crisis. 1979.
I didn't quite remember that.
I don't want to get political on you, but that was my first trip.
Did they make
Reagan?
Did they make the movie Argo about that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have
Argo.
seen that movie.
Carter and
unfortunately,
Reagan.
that is the extent of my knowledge of
Yeah.
that specific event.
I was sitting off the coast when that happened.
And how, you touched on it a little bit with the importance of the ocean, but how did your time in the Navy and the Army National Guard as well, I suppose, impact your work?
I don't know about the Guard so much, but once I was in the service, I got to travel around the world. I got to see and do, and it broadens the mind. I mean, when I'm looking at something, if I find a particular component, I can tell you kind of where it came from, who made it, whether it's Swiss or German or something made here in the United States, or how it might incorporate into a mountain scene or something if I'm thinking about Switzerland or Fuji or something like that, Japan. The travel influences you, broadens the scope of the mind, and the heart for that matter.
You have any favorite pieces?
Time Struggle, you'll see that online. My favorite is what I'm getting to work on at the moment because I have the time to do it. You know, I just like working. I know in my mind where I'm striving towards. The favorite pieces will fade. was great, great. Now it's gone. I have had incidences where at shows I've sold a piece, and I've had to leave the booth, just because it's like having your children there, you know, and it just. When they go, you know they're going to a home, you know they're going to a great place, or someone's going to appreciate them, but you are letting go of something that you spend a lot of time doing. Yeah.
You ever reach out and check in on how they're doing?
Well, yeah, I've seen my favorite sculpture, Time Struggle, in someone's home. So yeah, some of them I can reach out, some of them I can't, some of them I have contact information. I do know I sold a fish piece in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and the people were visiting, and that piece ended up in Florida just prior to the hurricane, so I don't even know if it exists anymore. Yeah, but that was one of those ones I had to leave the booth over.